Look at a human brain under a microscope, and you see a complex machine of wet chemistry and electrical impulses. But look out through your own eyes, and you experience the vivid, undeniably real feeling of being alive. Bridging the gap between that wet machinery and this subjective experience is considered the ultimate mystery of modern science. In cognitive science, this is known as the hard problem of consciousness. The challenge is explaining exactly how unconscious, physical matter somehow magically produces the rich inner world of a subjective mind. But this problem rests on a hidden assumption, an isolated mind on one side and a separate physical universe on the other. We place specific properties on that physical side. We measure mass, calculate velocity, and map out shapes, colors, and measurable distances. By defining mind and matter as two mutually exclusive substances from the start, we guarantee they can never interact. The mystery isn't a feature of nature, it is a self-generated loop created by our own initial premise. Try to point to a single piece of evidence that proves the physical world exists completely independent of your mind. To do it, you have to look at something, or touch something, or measure something. Every metric we use to define physical reality, the texture of an object, a visual reading, or a mathematical model, occurs strictly as an event within awareness. We have never encountered a mind-independent physical world. This requires an epistemic inversion. Instead of asking how dead matter produces a mind, we must ask the exact opposite. How does the sense of matter arise as geometric structures within awareness? Reality is a singular architecture of what we can call dimensional registration. Awareness is the bedrock field, and the physical properties we observe are specific structural patterns registered within that field. We don't need to build a bridge across an impossible gap. We simply need to recognize that the gap never existed. There is only one continuous, experiencing field, and everything we call physical is a shape taken by that field. To understand how this field takes shape, we have to look closely at the word quantum. Forget the purely subatomic, physics-only definitions you might be used to. In this framework, a quantum is simply any discrete, bounded pattern that emerges out of a wider field of possibility. It is the act of a boundary forming to create a specific structure. This logic scales up universally. A subatomic excitation is a quantum, a molecular bond is a quantum, a firing neural wave is one. Even the visual scene of the room you are sitting in right now is one complex quantum of experience. Every quantum has a necessary counterpart. We call this the qualium. The qualium is the lived, felt presence of that exact bounded structure, experienced from the inside. If the quantum is the shape of the boundary, the qualium is what it feels like to be it. The formation of the physical structure and the subjective feeling of that structure are not two separate things bridged together by some unknown mechanism. They are identical, coextensive events. The structure of a system is its experience. At the absolute bedrock of reality, form and feeling are exactly the same thing. If form and feeling are identical at the smallest scales, how does this single rule scale up to create the complex, multi-layered physical reality we navigate daily? Look at this network map. The universe operates through these exact mechanics. It functions as a series of linkages, filtering data and creating abstractions as information flows between different nodes of registration. This process is governed by a principle called nodal dimensional closure. Nodal dimensional closure dictates that the reality experienced at any specific point is strictly limited to the data that successfully connects to it. A single node, any local point of experience, does not and cannot register the entire universe at once. Instead, it registers only the specific subset of dimensions that successfully couple into it through a tight structural bottleneck. You see this clearly in chemistry. When two complex molecules interact, they don't share all of their internal atomic states with each other. They connect only through specific, limited atomic bonds at their surfaces. Those active bonds act as the bottleneck. Everything else about the upstream molecule is blocked. That heavily filtered, compressed connection becomes the entirely new, complete reality for the downstream receiving node. Physical reality propagates through these successive compressions. The universe hides the vast majority of its data so that specific, highly clarified local experiences can exist at all. Proposing that an electron has a qualia invites immediate skepticism. It sounds like crude panpsychism, as if we are projecting complex human psychology onto a subatomic particle, but the logic actually runs in the exact opposite direction. We must stop anthropomorphizing the particle and instead electromorphize the human. We can conceptualize human awareness as the anthropon, a discrete quantum of expression within the human field, the macroscale counterpart to the electron. On one side, the electron is a simple, ultra-stable node, operating with narrow bandwidth and highly regularized rules. On the other side, the anthropon uses the exact same underlying logic of dimensional closure, but it functions as a massive, fluid manifold. It integrates deeply layered sensory, biological, and semantic couplings into one cohesive node. Because their architectural bandwidths are so wildly different, their resulting qualia, their lived experiences, differ enormously in richness and complexity. Human consciousness is not an inexplicable add-on to a dead universe. It operates on the exact same fundamental field logic as a subatomic particle, just vastly upscaled. Apply this network architecture to your own immediate reality right now. Look at the room you are sitting in or the screen you are watching. That visual scene is not a direct window into raw, unfiltered reality. It is the final result of billions of upstream physical and biological couplings collapsing into a single cohesive moment. Your human awareness operates as a terminal abstraction horizon. This horizon is the boundary line where layered physical signaling ends and lived experience begins. Just as your retina compresses optical data from light waves and your visual cortex compresses that neural data into patterns, your conscious moment compresses your entire relationship with the world into one unified quantum qualium. You never experience the external world directly. You only ever experience the final, registered abstraction of the world after it successfully couples into your awareness. If every experience is just a terminal node of linked dimensions, what exactly is the human self? The true locus of your identity is not a static physical body, nor is it a narrative ghost floating inside a machine. You are the central binding registry itself, the node that actually hosts these converging dimensions. Psychological suffering in this framework comes from a specific misidentification. It happens when the central node falsely identifies strictly with the temporary data streams flowing through it, the fleeting thoughts, the physical pains, the passing events. Achieving cognitive clarity is simply the moment the system stops identifying with the data and realizes its true structural nature. It is the shift from being the chaotic, shifting content to recognizing yourself as the open, superpositional registry capable of hosting that content. And zooming out, you see every single node in existence, from an electron to a molecule to a human being, is a luminous focal point of the same underlying field of awareness. The universe is not a dead mechanical grid that accidentally spawned a biological observer. It is a self-linking, self-registering architecture. Your human awareness is simply the universe knowing its own magnificent structure in high resolution.